Hello. Today is Friday, June 26th. Um, I've been studying the book of Acts. The other day I talked to you about the testimony that Paul gave when he was arrested in Jerusalem in Acts chapter 21, and then following his speech that he gave them in chapter 22. In looking this all through, it comes to my mind a lot about the prejudice that exists in our world today, that we're seeing in our country now. Um, it all relates to this, I believe, the concept of prejudice, of being better than somebody else, of having enemies and repaying them. It was not until Paul told them that Jesus had actually told him to go teach the Gentiles, that this mob quit listening to his talk and demanded his death. And it reminds me of an earlier passage that Luke wrote in the first book he wrote, when Jesus was actually at his hometown. There in Nazareth, he was with them in the synagogue, and he was reading to them a very famous passage from Isaiah that says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has appointed me to preach good news to the poor." And he goes on and talks to them about what God had appointed him to do. And it says that all that were there spoke well of him and were amazed by his gracious words that fell from his lips. And they said, "How can this be? Isn't this Joseph's son?" And then he goes on. So here they are receiving his words so well. And then he continues in what we have as Luke 4, verse 25 and following. "Certainly there were many widows in Israel who needed help in Elijah's time, when there was no rain for 3.5 years and hunger stalked the land. Yet Elijah was not sent to any of them. He was sent instead to a widow of Zarephath, a foreigner in the land of Sidon." Or think about the prophet Elisha, who healed Naaman, a Syrian, rather than the many lepers in Israel who needed help. Now, the reaction this time is not, "Oh man, this one is speaking so well." Because here's what verse 28 says, "When they heard this, the people in the synagogue were furious. Jumping up, they mobbed him and took him to the edge of the hill on which the city was built." They were trying to kill him. What was the difference? One, he read Old Testament passages and they said, "Oh, that's our boy. He's from Nazareth. Oh, look how learned he is. How can he be so smart?" And then he talks about taking care of foreigners, and they turn on him. The prejudice that was so much a part of their society has continued. We struggle with it so much. And one of the natural things that we do when we think that we have been mistreated is to seek revenge. Why do you think part of the message of Jesus is about something other than revenge? I think it's quite amazing when we study the things that we can read about how different the message from Jesus was. Jesus, in fact, said, "Love your enemies. Don't repay evil with evil, but love them." When Peter was writing in 1 Peter 3:9, he said, "Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing." I think the message is so clear. When you've been done wrong, and we've all been done wrong from time to time, one of the natural inclinations that we have is to repay evil with evil, because we seek justice in this world. I'm guessing that the Jews thought it was unfair that the Gentiles should receive anything good, because the Jews were the chosen people of God. I suspect that some of us that have skin color that's like mine are incensed by statues from our history being torn down. We're incensed by rioting in the streets because justice feels so good to us. And yet, our reaction to people that are doing us wrong can exact even more injustice in this world. I believe that with what we give out, we get back. The energy that we use in our world that goes out comes back. And if in our desire to seek justice, we instead seek revenge, I believe we're going to get what we give. Because evil tends to cause evil to come back. And that's why Jesus said, don't repay evil with evil. Repay evil with blessing. And here's why. It stops the negative energy that's in the world. If I've done you wrong out of prejudice, and you return that with more wrong, everything continues to escalate. But if one of us says, yeah, I was done wrong, but I'm going to give you grace. I'm not going to repay evil with evil. I think it's amazing what comes back to us in blessings all the time. I hope this has been encouraging to you. I look forward to seeing many of you this coming Sunday. We worship at 8:30 and again at 10:30. I hope you'll be there. God bless.